Who is Gog of Magog? Most will list it as Gog and Magog. That is not how it is listed in the text. It is Gog of Magog. Now, since this is such a big topic, and since we've had so many pivotal things happen in, at least in the past week, much less further beyond, what I want to do is I want to break down some metaphorical meanings, or theory, if you will, of what this text or prophecy prediction is. Now, what I want to begin with here is the fact that, as it's listed, there can be three main definitions of an angel. A-N-G-E-L. The first I found was a spiritual being attendant upon God. Second is a person of exceptional holiness, i.e. a holy man, a saint, or a holy person. The other one invests in a theatrical production, i.e. a broker. These are all meanings for the word angel. You can venture to check these out if you would like. So, what I'm going to go into here is a term called a demagogue. And it's backwards. But it is spelled D-E-M-A-G-O-G-U-E. Now, the definition as listed in Wikipedia, some of you may or may not agree with this, but a demagogue, it's from a Greek word. I cannot pronounce it, and I don't know how to break it down, but you're more than welcome to look this up. But its definition is a popular leader, a leader of a mob, from another Greek word meaning people, populace, the commons, plus leading or leader. Or rabble-rouser is a political leader in a democracy who gains popularity by arousing the common people against elites, especially through oratory that whips up the passions of the crowds. This is kind of what happens at a pep rally. Appealing to emotion by scapegoating out groups. Out groups are groups that are blamed. So the scapegoat was used to send the sins that had the blood out of the cities. This is what the origination of a scapegoat was. Exaggerating dangers to stoke fears, lying for emotional effect, or other rhetoric that tends to drown out reasoned deliberation and encourage fanatical popularity. Demagogues overturn established norms of political conduct or promise or threaten to do so. Okay, now this is what Joseph McCarthy was pretty much called, or what he brought a lot of things to. Now, straight from just a common search, I plugged it into Google. What is a Gog? G-O-G. And what first came up was Gog and Magog. Table of contents. This is from Britannica. Gog and Magog. Again, if you go search this out, it is Gog of Magog. In the Hebrew Bible, the prophesied invader of Israel and the land from which he comes. This invader is to set forth a peace treaty. Respectively, or in the Christian scriptures, New Testament, evil forces opposed to the people of God. All right. So the Merriam-Webster's definition of Gog, G-O-G, it says it's an obsolete word. It means to stir, excitement, or eagerness. or a definition of Gog entry 2, now dialectal, England, bog or a quagmire, a swamp. There's a gentleman that knows all about this. He handled all of the papers, or all the dealings, the hearings, for Joseph McCarthy. He was actually Joseph McCarthy's chief counsel in 1953 to 1954. His occupation was a lawyer. He went to Columbia University. He's got a bachelor's. He's from Bethesda, Maryland. He passed away August 2nd, 1986. His name is Roy Marcus Cohn. Born in the silent generation, February 20th, 1927. He's known for Julius and Ethel Rosenberg trial in 1951. He was Joseph McCarthy's chief counsel from 1953 to 1954. I did state that already. I do apologize. As well as former President Donald Trump's attorney and mentor from 1973 to 1985. He was an American lawyer and prosecutor who came to prominence for his role as Senator Joseph McCarthy's chief counsel during the Army McCarthy hearings in 1954, when he assisted McCarthy's investigation of suspected communists. Modern historians view his approach during those hearings as dependent on demagogic, reckless, and unsubstantiated accusation against political opponents. In the late 1970s and during the 1980s, he became a prominent political fixer in New York City. He represented and mentored the real estate developer and later U.S. President Donald Trump during his early business career. Now, this is in Wikipedia. Any other bio will show the same thing for both. So, that all being said, let's break this down as literally as it can be interpreted into today's meaning, because that's what prophecy's about, right? It's about understanding the text and understanding the prediction in the day and time that it is said to be fulfilled. Now, seeing as a Gog, as it's defined, can either be a bog or a quagmire, or stir excitement or encouragement. And Magog is buried in it smack dab in the middle of Demagogue, which sounds very similar to demigod. A demagogue does exactly what Gog describes. So, the excitement, the encouragement of a demagogue. A demagogue is a what? Basically creates propaganda against a political opponent. This is a psychological battle of the mind. That's what this is. If you think this is a literal war, you're right. But it is a silent and unseen war to those who are not looking for it. If you're not looking at the metaphorical, you're not going to see all of these things. So the battle of Gog of Magog is the war that has to do with the excitement and the encouragement of somebody who constantly does things that are conducive of turning people against other political fixers. So one must ask themselves, did we see this? Are we still seeing it? Because I see something. But it's not just coming from one person. There's a majority of it coming from quite a few. But can we actually associate the fact that 2/3 of the United States population has been turned against one side of the federal government? I would say about 200 million people. That's the 200 million man army. There's your prophecy revealed. And by the guy who invaded or gained control or sought to gain control of the Iron Dome in Israel, and who basically did all these things to take over the minds of the masses in the United States of America. I want you to ask yourself, are you really trying to discern the Scriptures? Or are you merely understanding them the way you've been told to understand them? Because in this case, you have been taught to understand what these things are saying. And if you're understanding, you're not seeing the picture. Because first you must look and understand, and then be able to overstand. That means to be able to stand up and see the entire picture. If you're not seeing this, then yes, you're understanding. And that's not woke or enlightened or illuminated or anything of that. Because you're still allowing the chains that have been put on you to rule over your mind. That means you've been told this is the only way to believe how this is written. And it has to conform with the way man wrote it. Regardless of whether or not what was written could have been inspired by God. The same scripture says that there will be an entity such as the one we just discussed that will exalt themselves above everything. There's one set of laws aligned by one entity that only a successive entity can redact and remove. And these are called papal bulls. This means that only a pope can remove a papal bull. Only. And a papal bull is recognized worldwide. If you don't believe me, check out the next video following this one. And I'm going to base it off of the 1493 Doctrine of Discovery, Pope Alexander VI.